Hello, everybody. Can you imagine cruising the seas noiselessly with the sun as your fuel on the horizon as your limit? Well, this company is making that possible with their solar-powered electric propulsion yachts, offering an eco-friendly, low-maintenance, and unlimited range sailing experience. Let me introduce Silent-Yachts. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Welcome to another episode of Builder Nation. Today, we are joined by Michael Kohler, CEO and founder at Silent-Yachts. Michael, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. Can you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, thank you for the introduction already. My name is Michael. As you said, I set up this company a couple of years ago, in the year 2009. We started the construction of our very first yacht, which was a 46-foot catamaran, fully solar powered, powered by or propelled by electric motors. With all amenities on board, aircon, deep freezer, fridge, whatever you can imagine, full electric galley, of course, and it worked. It worked.
I mean, it definitely worked. I can see. I actually knew your yachts from way before setting up this interview because, I saw them around on the internet and stuff. They seem amazing. They seem incredible. And thank you for sharing more or less how this idea came to life. But before we get into there, um, the part of them being solar powered actually seems like a little futuristic, especially for the time, right? Especially for efficiency, for conversion of electricity into this. So, how did you first sort of combine these two technologies together with the respective limitations, solar power and electric vehicles for the ocean? How did you learn and combine these two in the first place?
Look, I always say our boats are not a perpetuum mobile. If you know this term, is a machine that once initiated runs forever.
Of course.
That's not the point. We need to get along with the energy that we get from the sun. In fact, yes, we have a generator. We can start a generator at any time that refills our batteries, just to be on the safe side. But the challenge, the goal is not to start the generator. And of course, there are some restrictions, some limitations. But on the other hand, what about a sailing boat? A sailing boat has a lot of limitations because if there is no wind or the wind is not coming from the right direction or in the right force, then you end up as a motorboat. That means motorboat with a mast, yeah?
Right.
Don't get motorboat with mast, yeah. And actually, this is probably not the type of boat or not the reason why the people choose a sailing boat to end up as a motorboat. But what I want to express is sailing boat has way more restrictions than any solar boat for the very simple reason, with a sail, you can only move the boat. And only when the wind is coming from the right direction, the right force. You cannot cook spaghetti with a sail, and you cannot generate the power to cool down your beer or to cool down the cabin or the salon. That's simply not foreseen in the concept of a sail. Yeah, and the sail is only supplying power. Yeah, when you use it for propulsion. If you're at anchor, sounds absurd, I know, but that's the fact. If you're at anchor in a bay, the sail does not supply any power, obviously.
Of course.
Solar panels do, and that's the main difference, because the solar panel provides power while we are cruising as well as while we are at anchor. And you won't believe it. The idea for this whole story came when I was at anchor in a bay on the island of Mairo in the Caribbean. I was up on the mast exchanging the bulb of the anchor light, and I looked down to the deck, and I saw the solar panels on the back. I saw the wind generator who was not really turning because we were in the protected bay. The solar panels were working because the sun was shining, and the main sail was in the lazy back, and the zip was closed, and the jib was rolled up and both sails were not working. Obviously, we were at anchor, but the solar panel was working. And at that moment, I said, what a stupid idea can it be to mount a mast on top of a boat with sails that 98, maybe 99% of the time are not working, are not producing any energy. And the energy, even if you want to use it, can only be used to move the boat for nothing else. Whereas the solar panels produce power 100% of the time, of course, not in the night, yeah, but of
Mhm.
course, during the daytime, they produce power, and you can use the power for the propulsion of the boat as well as for all hotel supplies. That means everything what you run in the boat, from lamps, galley, oven,
Right.
stove, top, fridge, aircon, whatever, yeah. And you can store the power in the batteries. That means when the wind stops, the sailing boat stops in exactly the same moment. When the sun stops, no problem, because the energy that we get from the sun can be stored in the battery.
Right.
Nobody ever tried to store wind energy coming from the wind in a sail to store it somewhere. It's not possible. You can store it with a wind generator as an electrical power in a battery. That works. The only problem with that is we tested it, and believe me, we tested even with 4 wind generators, and it doesn't make
Okay.
sense for a very simple reason. Because people told us so many times, "Hey, come on, you have these wonderful solar panels on the roof, but why don't you use the wind as well? The wind is for free. The wind is also blowing during the night when there is no sun. Why don't you use the wind?" Very simple reason. Sailors usually do not search an anchorage where it's really windy. They are searching for protected base, and
Mm.
protected means no waves, no wind. That means typically you're not at anchor or somewhere where there is a lot of wind 24/7. This is not the area you're looking out for if you're on the boat. And believe me, it's pretty annoying. If you're standing behind a reef in the Caribbean,
Mhm.
reef means protection from the waves, but no
Right.
protection from the wind. Believe me, you stay there for a few days and then you leave, because it's pretty annoying to have 20, 25 knots of wind 24/7. Good for the wind generator, good to get some energy in. You can wash your dishes with the dishwasher, and the washing machine is running day and night if you want. But at a certain point, you have nothing more to wash, and the wind is still annoying. And you in the end up at a protected bay. And that's the point. If you take the uh, harvest, not of of one day, if you take the harvest of a week, of a month, from the wind generator, and compare it to what you get in, what you harvest with a solar panel, the result is very clear,
Yes.
because the solar panel produces way more power, even though it works only for a couple of hours per day, and the wind generator theoretically could work 24/7, but it does not. Because while sailing, it does not really work, because a wind generator requires a laminar flow of the wind, which is not the case while the boat is in
Right.
waves, maybe even heeling to one side. This is simply not the case. So it produces very little power while sailing. And in a bay, again, you rather search for a protected bay than for a windy bay. So that's the reason why we did what we did. No wind generator, no diesel engines to propel the boat, but electric motors. And on the other hand, solar panels that produce the power that can be used for everything: propulsion, cooking spaghetti, and cooling a beer.
I mean, I have to say that is the most well round up description of how this idea, an idea came to life of any product. It's amazing. And I mean, I did see that you and your wife are both sailors at heart for many years, way before you started Silent-Yachts,
Yeah.
right? But I do have a question. How did you actually uh, first? I mean, when you first began using and applying these solar panels into the boats, into these yachts, into the sailors, etc. Did you already have previous experience with solar panels? Did you already know how these worked in terms of the whole system, mounting them, etc., or did you have to learn it from scratch? And after learning it, did you have to modify it to apply to a boat?
No, no, not at all. Actually, mid 90s, we mounted the first solar panels on our boat. They were not very efficient. They were one of the first generations. They were not lasting very long. However,
Right.
we used them. They worked. They worked. Yeah, and I'm very proud to say that I was probably one of the very first people in the world that ever mounted an inverter on a boat, because inverters making 220 or 110 in your case maybe out of a 12 volt or 24 volt battery simply did not exist at that time. They were
Right.
invented. Of course, everybody knew how it is possible to get from 12 to 24 from 12 volt to 220 volt.
Hmm.
But it was not common. If you wanted to have 220 volt, you had two possibilities. One was go to a marina and plug in your boat to shore power, or start a generator. Uh,
Right.
I I wanted none of these possibilities, because if you have a boat, you want to stay outside. You don't want to go. I don't want to go to a marina. Maybe some people want to go to show off to a marina to show their boat. We wanted to stay in the bay. And to run a generator just to recharge your mobile phone is for sure not the smartest way to use energy. And so I asked a guy in a shop next to my home if he can build something for me. I didn't know how to explain it to him, but I want to get 12 volt battery. I want to get 220. Do you have something? I asked him, and he said yes, yes. There is a such a bricolage package,
Mhm.
a bag with a lot of resistors and diodes, and don't ask me, electronic parts. And he said, I can build one for you that is sufficient maybe to recharge your phone. I said, no, no, my friend, it's not the goal. This is nice, but I want to run my fridge, and I also want to run a hair dryer, and I want to run my galley on that.
Right.
Yeah, we ended up at 1500 watt, which was big at that time. Today it's nothing. Yeah, but
True.
1500 watt, it was a small box, a black box with only a plug in the front and two sockets in the back for the 12 volt battery, and that's it. This is what we installed mid 90s. And we had power for a hair dryer, for the fridge, for whatever
Right.
household appliances coming out of the battery, consumer battery that was recharged by the big diesel engine, not very efficient, I know, and by some solar panels at that time. So it worked. It absolutely worked. And from 95 to about 2005, I developed this system, installed it
Wow.
in several boats, and improved the system. In
Hmm.
2005, I built the first demo boat. No, sorry, not demo, a testing boat,
Right.
which we crossed the Atlantic Ocean and used the boat for about 4 to 5 years in the Caribbean. And on this boat, I had this idea that I just explained on the
Hmm.
island of Mayo, that I thought it can't be more stupid. The next, if I go to the next ferreteria, to the next hardware shop, buy a big metal saw and cut the mast and enlarge the roof that we already had
Wow.
and panels on the roof, and then we have a nice boat. I take out the diesel engines that anyway only caused problems, put electric motors in, and then the problem should be solved. I did not do that because I understood it doesn't make sense to refit an existing boat that is working with a completely different system,
Hmm.
because it will never run efficiently. If you want to use such a disruptive technology, I think the only way to do it is by starting with a white sheet of paper
All
and
right.
not to transform, convert an existing boat that has been actually originally been designed to work as a sailing boat and to
Mm-hmm.
transform it to something completely different. This does not really work. So in the end, we decided to sell this boat and to build actually, sorry, to build a new
Right.
one, to design it from scratch as a solar boat, which we did in the year 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And from 2010 on, we sailed for 3 years without using the generator, not even one time.
Wow.
We did not use it. Okay, what was the result? The generator was gone because rusty, broken, seized, yeah, just
Right.
gone, yeah. Fisher Panda, I want to mention this because Fisher Panda was really kind. They said, even though you did not use the generator, you made wonderful marketing for us, so we give you a new.
That's what happens when you build a good product. Yeah.
Yes,
That's pretty
yes.
good.
So in the end, we ended up with a new generator, and we understood that we had to use it. So we used it every other week, more or less, for half an hour, but not to
Mm-hmm.
recharge. We only started it when the batteries were full. So we can claim
Mm.
now that we went for 4 years with on about 100 charter weeks with guests without using the generator at all for charging.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
an impressive milestone.
Yes.
It's an
Yes.
impressive milestone.
And it worked. It was in total about 12,000 miles that we sailed without using the generator. We had it, and we were very happy to have it because it gave us safety, security. We felt safe
Mm-hmm.
because only the batteries. We would not have felt safe because if the weather is bad, to be honest, if there is not enough sun, it's not good. It's not good.
Right.
If your batteries are at 20% and you maybe have to leave from this anchorage, it's not a good feeling. But if you know
Mm-hmm.
you have a generator, okay, what shall happen? I push the button, I start the generator, and I go out.
Right. Right. It's worst case scenario, but you already covered. Right.
Yes, yes. So
No,
it was not needed. It worked without.
it's amazing. It really is amazing how you actually managed to build this boat. You mentioned this is the first boat you built, and that lasted for around 4 years, right?
Yes,
Um,
2000, we sold it.
that's amazing. That's actually pretty amazing. Now I have two questions over here, right? The first thing is when you're building your own boat that is aimed to be solar powered, completely electrical, etc. Do you have to consider the specific materials that you're going to be using for it? Or can you use any sort of materials that are used in boats, maybe wood, maybe metal, etc.?
On the first boat, electrically powered boat, which was our SolarWave 46, which we built in
Mm-hmm.
2009 and sold in 2013. We used fiberglass epoxy composite, which is a very good material, not the absolute lightest that you can get, but very
Mm-hmm.
light. Or only carbon epoxy would be a little bit lighter.
Right.
So very good quality already. And so, of course, you can use, in fact, any kind of material, but weight is an issue. Like on any catamaran, catamarans are very sensitive to weight. They should not be too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Actually, like on every boat, people always think that weight does not matter on a boat. Just if they when they see a cargo ship with
Mm-hmm.
thousands of tons,
Right.
think that weight does not matter. Of course, it matters. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense to build the racing boats, catamarans or monohulls, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
to build them in really high tech carbon technology, and to really save every gram they can find.
Yeah.
I always said we break our toothbrush in two parts and only keep the front part to save weight before we go out to sail. Because really you need to save weight wherever you can, because weight means performance, or
Right.
more weight performance. And for this reason, the next generation of boats that we built, starting in the year 2015, were in full carbon epoxy,
Mm.
and they were even lighter and very efficient as well. Very, very efficient. We are now using a mixture of fiberglass and fiberglass and carbon, because on some places fiberglass still makes sense, because you cannot really save weight with carbon on some
Right.
places, especially on the hull. But all the rest is in carbon, just again to save weight. So weight definitely matters. We have also aluminum boats, but if you do it in a smart way, also aluminum is pretty lightweight.
Right. I mean, it is true that weight is the most important. Anybody who has ever gone on a on a little just boat, maybe to go scuba diving or just to go glamping, it's very clear that weight is so important. But now
Yeah.
over in Silent-Yachts, there's another very important aspect that you really take into account. It's actually in the name, right? Which is noise, or in this case, silence, right? Um,
Yes.
how how did that become an issue for you, and how did you actually solve it, and why are your yachts so silent now?
Uh, um, just think about how does a sailor feel if someone has a sailing boat. He
Mhm.
usually goes out of the marina under engine. He uses the diesel engine to get out of the bay, the marina, whatever,
Right.
and also still uses the diesel engine to set sails, because he has to drive against the wind and so on. Uh, or he uses the diesel engine if there is simply no wind. And believe me, may I ask you, did you ever sail?
I have sailed, yes.
Yeah, okay. So you know probably the feeling when you go for a couple of hours using the diesel engine. It's annoying, yeah, because you
Right.
have the vibrations, you have the noise, you have the fumes, especially when the wind is coming from the back, you have the
Right.
fumes in the cockpit. It's really annoying. And the best moment on a sailing boat is when you stop the diesel engine, when you turn it off, and you have set your sails, and you continue from this moment on in a silent way.
Right.
You're using the sails. And this is the best moment on a sailing boat, when stopping the diesel and continuing under sails. And this is the point. The people who do sailing don't do it to run the diesel. They want to go silently, use the power of nature, use the wind, and not the diesel. And this is the point also for us. We Our boats are always silent, and that's where the name is coming from,
Of course.
because they don't make noise. The electric motors do not make any noise. It's
Hmm.
really like an electric car. It's
It's
not
smooth.
noise.
Yeah.
It's very smooth, and they are in the hull, deep in the hull, and you absolutely do not hear them. And so the point is the point has been for us to develop a boat that can give you the comfort of a motor yacht.
Hmm.
That means always power available, 24/7, ample power available. And on the other hand, also the comfort, and this is a big comfort, of silence, the silence of a sailing boat.
Right.
And this is the combination we were aiming for, to have luxury and comfort, actually almost without any limits, because the battery bank is so huge. You cannot deplete it in the night. It's simply impossible on our boats to
Right.
deplete it in the night. You are not completely stupid. Completely stupid means aircon full power, and all doors open. But still, even that is not sufficient to empty a battery during one
Right.
night.
Right.
Um, but to have all comfort that is common on modern motor yachts, but only when running a generator 24/7. And we wanted to achieve this without the generator running. And this is possible if you have a big battery bank. And
Right.
on the other hand, a really, really optimized solar array. Because, for
True.
example, one brand does it to have the solar panels on the sides of the hull. Let's say good marketing, but not very
Not
efficient.
efficient. That is
Does
true.
not make sense. Because when you are in a marina or at anchor, it doesn't produce any power because usually you have your fenders on your side or maybe a neighbor next to you. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you mast and the boom on top, also the panels on the roof do not really produce power
Hmm.
because the worst for a solar panel is not shade. The worst is to be partly shaded. Partly shaded is the
Yes.
problem. That means a whole. If the sky is overcast, you still produce a lot of power. But in bright sun, if you have the shade of only a mast or a boom or something
Hmm.
that shades only a tiny portion of a solar panel,
Hmm.
this solar panel does not produce any power anymore. And don't believe the storytellers that tell you, nah, our panels are the best ones because they have these diodes, diodes. Yeah, we have diodes.
Right.
So if cell or one string is shaded, all the others still produce. Yes, they are right. But you cannot use this power. Because if the panel next to it is not shaded, the weakest link of a chain counts. Yeah, we say in
Right.
German. I hope this makes sense in your language.
Yes.
That
Yes.
means if one panel breaks down, the other one which is connected to them, and if it's five of them connected to them, all other break down as well. And if you have instead of 60 volt, only 30 volt coming out
Hmm.
from a panel, you cannot charge a 24-volt battery because to recharge a 24-volt battery, you need more than 30 volts.
Right.
So, and if you don't have more than 30 volts, you still have power, but you can't do anything. You cannot recharge your batteries. So that's the main problem. Or you need to use very elaborated and high-tech charging infrastructure to get up, to transform the voltage up to that level that you want to achieve, which is really complicated. And in
Right.
fact, it makes sense. So there is a very simple solution instead of being complicated. The simple solution is put your panels on the roof and design the roof in a way that there is no shade on the roof.
Yes.
Period. That's it. This is what we did. So instead of having panels on the side or on small surfaces
Hmm.
that are in different angles to the sun, which is the next problem, by the way,
Yes.
and requires a very, very elaborated and high-tech and complicated charging infrastructure, which they don't have, by the way. It is much easier, much simpler to go the conventional way, the simple way, make a big roof, design the roof first and then the boat below, what we did. We did not design a boat and then try to fit a roof on top. We designed the roof and fit the boat below and
Mm.
maximize the roof and maximize the solar array
Wow.
and do it in a way that you have no shade on the panels and you will succeed because you have a lot of power coming in that you can store in the batteries and you can use it 24/7 to supply all household appliances and the electric motors.
It's honestly amazing how you're not just an expert on boats, you're an expert on solar panels, and I believe you're the only solar expert or one of the few that can be an expert on solar panel powered boats. So it's actually pretty cool. I want to move now more into the manufacturing side of your projects, right? On how you built this, right? Because you already mentioned that back in '95, you sort of did as an own project, adding these solar panels, cutting down the mesh tile, and then you just cutting it out, chopping it like a tree, and then building the own boat on 2009, running it from 2009 to right. No, we're 10 years later after you sold the first very boat, and you have on your, on your product marketplace, you have for selling yachts only. You also have hybrid, but for selling yachts only, you have the silent 60, 80, and 120. The
Yes.
very first question that I have is, how many iterations did it take to go from these very rudimentary, if you will, rudimentary to the extent of it can be, the word can be used in the 90s, these very very heavily installed solar panels, into these very very nice looking and very efficient jacks that you have right now? How long did that R&D go for? I mean,
Actually, the R&D went from 1995 until today, and it will continue. Obviously, it was not a certain amount of iterations. It was simply a process.
right.
Uh, None of us counted the changes that we made. And we did not, to be honest, we did not earn money so far, for the simple reason, because yeah, it's easy, because and that's how I am. I insist on building a perfect product. And when I see that a boat is not um, in accordance to my needs, to my I don't know, to my, how to express it, uh, to what I want to achieve, yeah, to
Hmm.
what I ideally would like to get, what is my goal, then I simply change it. I don't deliver it, I change
Hmm.
it. And my clients so far appreciated it, because they understood that I'm a perfectionist and I don't deliver something that is not perfect. And that's why we changed hull forms, hull molds, hull shapes, and therefore also the mold many times, just to optimize the boat. We changed the roof, finished roof molds, because we found out we can optimize it a little bit, and so we changed the mold again. And this is for sure not the right way to make money, but it's
Right.
definitely the right way to bring a company forward, and to show a client that we are really, really, um, um, what's the term? Um, Dedicated to what we're doing. We don't want to deliver the second best product. We want
Right.
only to deliver the very best one. And this is our mentality, and that's maybe also the reason why we were the first one, and while we are still the leader in the market, even though there are very few, less than a handful of companies now coming up that at least claim to want to produce some boats in the future. Yeah. Because whenever you read about solar boats, it's usually with wishful thinking. There is only one
True.
brand on the market apart from us that ever put a boat into the water with electric motors and solar panels, and that could work.
Right.
But I think it's a big difference, because this competitor is more than double the weight of our boats. But yeah,
Wow.
but on the other hand, they produce less than half, maybe one third of the power that we generate on the same day in the same bay.
Right.
And this is a big difference, because our boats are really autonomous, and I'm very, very proud that we got to that level. And it also, of course, comes with, as I mentioned already in the beginning, with starting with a white sheet of paper.
Yes.
Because those brands that think that they can simply take a conventionally powered boat that they designed to be a power boat or a sailing boat, and put some solar panels on it and put some electric motors in,
Right.
uh, they yeah they can never be that efficient as if you design a boat for exactly that purpose.
Yes, and I mean that is something that I very much understand, because the very fact that you mentioned that you first design the roof and then
Was not
design the right, you build it and then design the whole boat below it. I mean, it makes a huge difference. And following
yes.
this same path that you designed it with this in mind, I have to understand that manufacturing is the same thing. You manufacture it with it in mind being fully autonomous. So my question is, what steps and innovations do you take to make sure that the final boat is low maintenance, so that it's not gonna be a very hard ship, not only to sail and to maneuver and to deal with, but in the long run to maintain.
Very simple. My wife and I gave a lot of lectures during our time that we spent on conventionally powered boats. Yeah, so we worked also as a
Right.
photographer. I'm lawyer, my original profession, but I worked in my profession only for 2.5 years because that's not me.
It was not
Uh,
your passion. Yeah.
yes, my passion was always boats and was always to optimize boats. This was my passion from childhood on. And so, sorry, back to the question. What was the question?
Yes. What steps do you take during manufacturing to ensure that the boats are low maintenance in the long run?
Thank you. Thank you. So we gave many lectures during many years while we were living on boats in the Caribbean and in other areas of the world.
Uh-huh.
We were doing charter business and worked as photographers and everything. We tried to to survive somehow, and we found out that it's always the same guys that cause trouble. And the guys were the two guys in the back under the beds, the diesel engines, and the rig, the complete rig,
Okay.
means mast, boom, sails, shrouds, stays, and all the running gear, winches, whatever you have on a boat to sail. Yeah.
Mhm.
And this was causing problems, always. It's not causing problems on a brand new boat if you don't use it.
True.
But if you use a boat, if you cross oceans, and if you use the sails every single day, you will see how many things you have to exchange and to maintain on a very, very regular basis. Means
Yes.
1, 2, 3 hours every day maintenance works. And it was always the same things that required maintenance. And we aimed at eliminating those components that caused trouble.
Right. Rather than redesigning them, you chose to get rid of them in the first place.
Because there is already a solution. There is one big difference
Mm.
between a technician and in my case, a lawyer. A technician would substitute a not working technical solution with another even more complicated technical solution, which avoids, in a
Right.
technical way, the problem that the first one caused.
Right.
Yeah. As I'm not a technician, I could not do that because I did not have the knowledge for that.
Right.
Yeah. So of course, I have in the meantime a pretty deep technical understanding, as you can imagine, because
Sure.
I'm not doing anything else my whole life than solving problems. But I'm missing the profound, deep technical education. So I always tried to solve technical problems in a way that makes it more simple. And instead of having a diesel engine with hundreds of rotating and moving parts, yeah,
Mhm.
with valves and many things that are moving and turning around and pivoting,
Right.
and I don't know.
Like a car engine.
Yeah, like a car engine. Yeah, exactly. This is a nightmare. You have thousands of parts of components. Did you ever
Oh.
moving parts an electric motor has?
Um.
One, one.
Wow.
And it's called the rotor. And the name,
True.
because it's rotating, and that's the rotor. And the stator, the outside part, usually, not always,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
usually part, is not moving. It's full of what's the name? The copper wire
Hmm.
windings and magnets, and that's it. Not more. And the only rotating part is the rotor, and you have two bearings, and that's it. Nothing else. And by the way, an electric motor has less electronics than a modern diesel engine. A diesel engine has more black boxes than an electric motor. Of course, we need
Wow.
an inverter on the electric motor, yeah, which is a box
Yeah.
depending on the
Yeah.
size of the motor that makes the motor understand how fast it has to turn, yeah,
Right.
and transform the power coming from the battery into the voltage and into the I don't know, structure that the electric motor can work with.
Right.
And but this is less complicated and less electronics, in fact, than a modern, not an old one, but a modern diesel
Hmm.
engine. And so this is a very, very, very simple, basic, always functioning system. I'm very happy to grant lifelong warranty on our electric motors.
Wow. That is tremendous.
Do you know any car, conventional car manufacturer, boat manufacturer that
Never
will
heard
tell
of
you
that.
long warranty on the Volvo or MAN or Deutz or whatever
Never heard
Caterpillar
of it. Never heard of
engines?
that. Yeah.
Of course not, because they have a very limited lifespan. On our electric motors,
It is
even
true.
even though the manufacturer of the motors does not grant me lifelong warranty, they have a normal 2-year warranty. But I'm absolutely sure that these motors, in the way we use them in the boats, will never ever die. Never.
Wow. I have to say, you are probably out of all of the guests that I've interviewed, you're probably one of the most passionate ones about your product. It's incredible. Now, I also want to touch in the differences, not only between the Yak, the Silence 60, 80, 120. No, you have speedboats, tenders,
Yeah.
yachts, electrics, hybrid. You have a lot of different boats, right? It's not just a sailing boat and that's it. Luxury, it's speed. Is there a big difference between building and designing these electric vehicles? From a yak to a speedboat, is there a lot of difference in the design and production of these? Because of course the end use is going to be different. So how
Big
does it look?
difference. Big difference. Yeah. Look, the main difference is the use of the boat.
Hmm.
Uh, the A boat of 60 or 80 foot is designed to be autonomous for weeks and months, to cross an ocean,
Right.
to host 6, 8, 10 people for weeks or months, to supply all the people not only with power for propulsion, but also for all kinds of consumers on the boat. To stay in a bay for weeks and to go long range. Whereas a tender is designed to go to shore, to maybe go to the next or a second to next bay, and
Right.
that's it, and come back. The speedboat is designed to go further than a
Hmm.
tender, maybe to the next island and back at higher speeds. To have a fridge running for 2 bottles of champagne and a bottle of whiskey or rum and some cokes, and that's it. Yeah, so it's a completely different use case compared to the yachts, because on the
Yes.
yacht you live, on the other one you go out for swimming, or to show off, or to show your neighbors your new girlfriend, and that's the purpose of the speedboat. Yeah, to be very very honest, and also the tender is designed to bring 6, 8, or more people from the boat to the shore, either for snorkeling or for diving,
Hmm.
for sitting on the beach, or for going to a restaurant, hopefully with a dry bum, not like on most of the tenders on which you arrive wet when you get to the restaurant. So this was our goal, to get the people to the beach dry and not wet. And so that's the purpose of these boats, and it's completely different to the big boats that we built.
Right.
And especially the biggest one, the 120, is an Explorer. That means this boat
Oh,
is designed to go to Alaska, to stay there for months.
wow.
So it's completely different. This is an Explorer vessel. It's not a boat
Hmm.
anymore. This is huge. This is a big boat. The upper deck, where you have your anchor winch and your sofas and the helm, is
Hmm.
5 meters 50 above the waterline. Can you imagine? 5 meter 50.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a huge, tall boat. I
yeah.
mean, it's a
The
very tall
deck
boat.
is 5 meter 50 above the waterline. Yeah.
Right, 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 right.
Just above that. So the bow, in fact, this is where the bow ends. The bow ends on the top end of the bow is at 5 meter 50.
Hmm. I mean, it's a very specific use case, the one for the for the 120 series, right? The fact that it's an explorer vessel, as you mentioned, I mean, I see it
Yeah.
as a very, very specific use. Is this? I mean, is this a boat that is very demanded in the market, or I mean, versus, for example, a more general, like a Selling 60 or a Selling 80? Is this very demanded, or is this a very specific use case that you build sort of on request rather than on production?
Now, actually, all boats we build on request, but
Mm,
it's of course as a smaller series than on a Silent 60. So
right.
we built our first 120 now since about almost 1 year.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Already looks like a boat. Let's say that from the outside, it's almost complete. From inside, not. So it
Okay,
will
I
take
see.
at least one more year.
Yeah.
But this boat, we have some more clients that are considering to order a boat. So, but of course, the price is different.
Of
So there
course.
is less people on the market that can afford buying such a boat. We are talking about
Right.
almost 30 million, and this is a big number. So that's, I think, the main reason is not the mere size of the boat. It's more, can some how many people can afford buying such a boat?
And that
And
needed, right?
sorry.
And how many people really need it?
I'm now fine talking against my own business, but actually nobody needs. Yeah, because it's a toy. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
big toy for big children, and I love this boat. So don't get me wrong. It's an unbelievable boat.
it
It's
is.
great. But it's a pleasure craft. Yeah, so it's for people that say, okay, I want to do it. I
Hmm.
simply want to have a boat that is able, without refueling, to go around the world, to be in base for weeks, and to be absolutely self-sufficient and independent, autonomous. And this is
Absolutely.
this is this is the right boat for such people, and it's a gorgeous boat. It's unbelievable.
I mean, that is true. I've seen pictures. It's
Even offers a helipad, and I'm sure when we build the next one, the owner will supply it with an electric eVTOL, with a electrical vertical landing, takeoff and
takeoff
landing
and
beam.
landing. Yeah.
And I think this is the right toy for this boat, and that's
Uh,
what we build it for.
I really like how you make this differentiation, right, between needing and just wanting. It's
No,
very cool. Now, another time
don't.
is running out, so I agree with I agree with that. I agree with totally. Now we're in a long time, so I just have two final questions, right?
Yeah.
Before we close this out. The number one question is: I'm very curious what you think of where this is going. You know, as you already mentioned, there are essentially only two companies out there, you and one more competitor that is maybe some strides below you, that are really putting electric vehicles and electric yaks in the market, right? So it's not just a niche market, it's straight up a new one. It's a new industry. Where do you see it going? Maybe use cases for military, for exploration, for cargo transporting, etc. Where do you see this industry headed to?
I think, um, yeah, Martin Luther King. I have a dream. Um, I have a dream that in a few years it will be very, very common to drive with an electric car to a marina and to step on an electric boat. And I have the dream that the fuel based boats will phase out, they will gradually disappear. There will remain some dinosaurs. Yeah, I have, by the way, a dinosaur in my garage, a Ford Model A, 93 years old. Yeah,
Wow.
of course, a fuel engine. Yeah, obviously. Uh,
Naturally, yeah.
this is okay for me if there are some remaining, but I think that people will understand that not only the smart way to get from A to B, no matter with a car or with a boat, and in the future maybe hopefully also with a plane, that the smart way to get from A to B is electric, because not only it works, it causes less pollution, it causes way less maintenance. It's way cheaper than any other way. And it also requires less resources. Because even if we need at the moment still some rare earth for the batteries and
Yes.
some minerals that are not so common and expensive, this will change in a few years because they already developed batteries that need less. And by the way, please don't tell me that a diesel engine is growing on a tree. There are also many things in the diesel engine that need to be produced by someone. They need to come
Right.
from somewhere, and that require people to get it, to dig it out from the earth and from the
Hmm.
soil to put it into a diesel engine. And in any case, a diesel engine for the whole lifespan consumes a lot of fuel that also does not grow on trees and that
True.
causes pollution. And in the end, the overall what's the word? Um, Environmental balance. What is the
Right.
better word?
The sustainability?
The sustainability is way more favorable for our planet if you use electric propulsion than any kind of even the most modern way of e-fuels and whatsoever, because
True.
the e-fuels consume a lot of energy, more energy than you have in the e-fuel. Same with hydrogen causes a lot of pollution. It's simply not true that hydrogen is green. It's not green. If they would produce it in a green way and it would happen next to your house, then it would be okay. But to
Hmm.
produce hydrogen in the Sahara desert and to transport it to Europe is not green anymore.
I
And this
agree.
is the main problem with all these alternatives. They are not really green. But to produce on site where you are, on your boat, the power, and to put it in the batteries that are right under the solar panels and then put it into the electric motors, this is green. And this is a way that we use energy in the most efficient way without polluting the planet.
Right. I totally agree with you on that. That although the manufacturing side of the current clean energy, it needs to catch up with actually being a little cleaner, right? For example, solar panel manufacturing, as you already mentioned, hydrogen, etc. It's not as green. It's definitely better than fuel, but I agree with you that the manufacturing industry still has to catch up with that. I agree.
Yeah.
Now, I do have one final question for you, which I believe is actually going to be very insightful, if you ask me, because it's about an advice, right? But I don't want to just ask you what advice do you have for any people out there. I don't want to ask you that because you already gave us one very very important piece, which is that every good idea and every project starts with a blank sheet of paper. right? And
Yeah.
I believe that is a wonderful, wonderful thing to really embrace. But my question to you is, you as yourself are a sort of an engineer by heart, right? Maybe not by career, and you're creative and you're an innovator. What advice do you have for any person out there who is starting their own path, or maybe they also have the same profile as you do, that they like building stuff, creating stuff, that they maybe want to do the jump into actually being an entrepreneur, creating their own company? What advice do you have for those?
um, Whenever you fall down, get up again and continue.
That is very, very nice, very straight to the point. I really appreciate that. And I believe that is the perfect way to give a closure to this episode, Michael. It has been a great pleasure talking about all of this, because I think it is one of the interviews that really embodies perfectly the fact that we're called Builder Nation, right? Because you build a lot of stuff just because you like it, just because you want to. So, Michael, thank you very much for being here, for sharing with us all of these projects and insights, and your mind. Where can we find you, and where can we find Silent-Yachts on social media and the website?
Just type in silent-yachts.com. You will find us on all kinds of social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatsoever. And especially our website, I think, gives the best insight of our products. And yeah, just visit us, have a look what we offer. And in the best case, you're welcome to join the Silent family.
I mean, I have to say, your website is amazing. I really, really spent quite my time just navigating through your website, looking at the boats you build, looking at the yachts. It's honestly amazing. Also, if you want to share this, do you have any upcoming events or any upcoming interviews that you would like to share?
Actually, the next big boat fair for us is the Düsseldorf Boat Show in Germany, and then Palma Boat Show on the island of Mallorca. We are on the big American boat shows in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and probably also in West Palm
Mm,
Beach. And we are of course every year at the Cannes Boat Show. That's the biggest events
yes.
that we participate in. And most of all, you're very welcome to visit us at our production facility in Fano, Italy, or on the island of Mallorca, where we have some boats for testing, for sea trials, and to get an idea what it means to
Wow.
leave a marina without any noise. Believe me, the people were sometimes almost frightened because they thought we were drifting away. We are not fixed anymore. The boat is not moored anymore, and they were really scared. We're drifting. We're drifting. No, no, no. We're going out. We're simply going out. You can't hear the engines. We are going out now.
I I
And
I, I want to go to Mallorca now and try it out. Oh my god.
because believe me, these are for me the most exciting moments when I see that the people are almost frightened because they cannot believe that something of that size can move without making any vibration, no noises, no fumes, nothing.
Wow.
It accelerates in a really, really exciting way, like a Tesla. Yeah. So the acceleration on a silent yacht is outstanding,
Wow.
really
I
outstanding.
I genuinely want to try these out at
Yes,
some point. So thank you very, very much for sharing that. I really have something to strive towards.
yeah,
So thank you very much. Now, to everybody out there, please remember that you can find more information, interesting articles, interviews, shorts, short content, etc., directly on our website and social media, buildernation.io on the website, BuilderNation everywhere across social media, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. We're gonna love to hear from you. Thanks again for being part of this community. We're gonna see you in the next episode. And Michael, again, thank you very, very much for joining us. This was an honestly incredible interview. Thank you very much.
thank you. Bye bye.
When building the future is your priority, tedious procurement processes should be last on your list. The problem is that purchasing data is scattered across spreadsheets, receipts, emails, and messages. Tracking it all sucks and makes it easy to commit mistakes. Introducing the Control Hub Way, the all-in-one purchasing software for hardware companies. Buying parts, services, or office supplies? Submit a quick purchase request to buy from your list of approved vendors, or buy from a new provider. Buying from approved vendors is even easier. Import your shopping cart directly into your purchase request using our checkout integrations. When the order is ready, submit it for approval. We'll ping all pre-designated approvers both via Control Hub's website, email, and Slack notifications for a faster turnaround. If you need a PO, we got you. Generate it in one click. Online purchase? Boom, virtual card. Do an automatic three-way match, pay invoices, and sync everything live with QuickBooks or NetSuite. Purchasing just got a lot easier. Control Hub. Get back to building.